There we go. We are there finally. Good. Good morning, everybody. Hello, manufacturers. Thank you so much for joining us, and great that you could take the time today to spend a bit of time talking about online tools, spend a bit of time talking about what resources you can lean on as well to help grow your business and your exports and your sales. So we're really excited about this. We have a lot packed into this webinar. So I'm going to get started right away and just start with some introductions. So delighted that we have Miles. Miles Wright is the Chief Executive Officer of Apex Instruments, a fantastic company. And Miles has agreed to spend a bit of time telling you a little bit about where his company is at right now, looking at export markets, how they're going to be using online tools, where they've come from, what they're doing about it, what challenges they're seeing. So that's fantastic that Miles is here to join us, and hopefully will sort of resonate with some of you as a fellow manufacturer. And you'll be able to also to ask him questions. Please, drop questions into the chat box as we go along, and we'll take them up at the end of the webinar. And I'm very, very delighted to have Pam. Pam is the Global Advanced Manufacturing Team Leader for the whole of the U.S. Commercial Service, and is a lifelong supporter and advocate for the manufacturing sector. You've probably all seen her at various trade shows. She's very active in presentations, webinars, live streams, all kinds of things. And Pam is also going to talk to a little bit about sort of some of the resources that manufacturing companies in particular have, and maybe also some of the challenges they're seeing, some of the big events also that she's promoting. So really excited about that. Pam is going to be here. And myself, my name is Susanna, and I'm Chief Content Officer at IBT Online. And just what it's worth, IBT Online, well, what do we do? We're what's called a full stack online marketing company. What that means is that we create websites and we do online marketing. And we're really, really known for two things in particular. We're really known for helping mid-cap sized companies, that sort of, small to mid-cap companies. And we're really known for our international reach and our focus on helping companies grow their business internationally. So we've started something called these online global programs, and they're in many different U.S. states, and they're designed specifically for mid-cap companies. So those are the online global programs. Have a look on our website if you want to find out more about them. But as I said, they're very much tailored and a well-trodden path. And the other thing I want to just highlight is that we are the new strategic partner. We signed a strategic partnership agreement with the International Trade Administration of the U.S. Commerce. So we are the U.S. Commerce's strategic partnership, especially for e-commerce. And if you go onto their website, trade.gov, e-commerce, there's tons of resources there for U.S. companies and e-commerce, right from how to start to what do you do when you have a huge one and so on. So it's a great resource. And then you can check us out as well on the e-commerce Grow Your Exports site. So getting down then to the agenda. What we thought we'd do is we'd sort of start off, I'm going to start off really just talking about some of the things we're seeing coming down the track overall for our companies right now, particularly the B2B manufacturers. What are the big trends we're seeing? What are the big challenges? What are the big trends we're seeing? Online, that is. And then I'm going to turn over to Miles, and he's going to walk through sort of Apex Instruments and some of the things that they're seeing and looking at and targeting. And then Pam's going to talk to us a little bit about the U.S. commercial service for manufacturers and the dedicated resources there. And then I'm going to take it back just to give you another landscape and some views on some of the online business development tools that we see are most effective for manufacturers in today's world. There's time at the end for questions. We realize you're all busy. We realize you're running companies and stretched and all that. You've taken the time out of your day to spend it with us. We're delighted with that. So now is a great time to ask all those questions that you don't normally have time to ask. Put them in the chat box, and if we don't get time today. We will reply by email later. So diving right in then, let's talk about the future of sales for manufacturers. And sort of where I want to go right away with this is just painting a picture, just give you a few stats. How about that? Just a few stats. And the one I want to highlight is the internet and where the world is today on the internet. So 8 billion of us on the planet. That's like an awful lot. 70% of us have mobile phones. That's amazing. 66% of us are using the internet. That's nearly 5.4 billion people use the internet, and pretty well all of them are on social media. The thing that blows me away is the average time spent on the internet is nearly 7 hours a day. So 5.4 billion people are spending nearly 7 hours a day online. And if you're a small mid-cap company, that's awesome news, because it means you know how to reach your prospects anywhere in the world. And they're online. And that's an amazing resource for you right there. And a lot of companies, a lot of countries, a lot of investors, a lot of people use social media for brand research. So, for example, in this slide here, when I'm looking at sort of social media for brand research, the big blue arrow on your slide deck, there we go, is the USA. The white band is the worldwide average. So there are countries, the US is actually quite low down in terms of this. But if you're looking, say, to expand your business in Hong Kong or Malaysia or the UAE or South Africa, know that 3/4 of the people using the internet use it for brand research. I just want to sort of point that out, how important it is to make sure that your brand is well represented online. And the other thing I want to point out is about e-commerce. Now, it was always trending up, and then it gave this sort of like step change with the pandemic, and it's gotten back to those average increases again of 3% per annum. But 3% per annum compounded is an awful lot of growth. And this again, if we talk just in terms of overall numbers, we said 5.4 billion people using the internet, 4 billion are using e-commerce. And again, if we look internationally, the USA is actually quite small. The USA is 12% of overall e-commerce. So it's actually just below the worldwide average. So we think, we're shopping online all the time. But no, there are countries out there that really do shop online all the time. Their first port of call is the online world. And again, if you're looking to go internationally, you need to make sure that you have all these online assets working hard for you. When we talk about e-commerce, a lot of people say, oh, that's not for manufacturers. No. E-commerce is all about buying shoes. About teenage girls buying cosmetics. No. Wrong. B2B e-commerce is 3 times the size of B2C e-commerce. And it is absolutely amazing. It's huge. It's absolutely global. And again, that pandemic did a huge shift in that way. And something that we're seeing, by the way, several of you are already asking this question, so I'm going to answer it now. You are getting a copy of the slide deck. So you don't have to, I'm going quickly through these slides. You don't have to take notes. Just relax and take it in. You don't have to take notes. You get a copy of the slide deck, and then you can look through all these numbers that I'm giving you as well. So, but 90% of B2B companies have some form of virtual sales model at the moment. All this brings me to what we like to call sort of like what we're seeing coming down the path here of the sort of the future of sales and how that's looking. And this is not just a generational shift, although that's happening too. What we're seeing is that company after company, B2B companies, manufacturers, are demanding a digital first approach. They want to have, they want to scope out their potential purchases before being contacted by a sales guy. If they're at a trade show, they want to scan your QR code and check out your website before coming up to your booth and introducing themselves. They do not want to get an email first. They want to check you out first. And they want to do it on the platform that they choose, in the way and the time that they choose. So that's when we talk about these omni-channel, digital first, and always customer centric. Everything online is always customer centric. It's searcher centric. That's how the online world works. So this sort of the move to online has empowered, if you like, the prospective buyer and pushed the seller, the manufacturer, into a position where they have to meet their prospective buyers in the way that the prospective buyer wants to be met. And that's, I think, one of the key things that we want to put forward. So some of the latest trends that we're seeing, and I mean, these will, we're all talking about AI, some of the funny hallucinations that AI has, but the enormous productivity gains that it could also engender. We don't yet know how we're feeling about AI in general, but AI is definitely there, top of the board. E-commerce is also there, top of the board of people's minds and where they're going and looking forward. What I've put here is personalization and community. This is actually really important for the online world. There's a feeling of the one side, this vast, billions and trillions of data points and anonymity, but at the same time, people want to have a very personalized approach. Just give you one example. If you see Adobe stock images on someone's website, it's probably not a good idea. If people don't want that anymore. They want a personal view. They want to see an actual person doing stuff. They want someone out there. They don't necessarily want to speak to that person. They want to interact with them on WhatsApp or whatever it is, but they want an actual person. And that feeling of community is incredibly important, online as well as offline. Social commerce, very, very important and a leading trend, perhaps less in manufacturing than in the B2C, but it's coming. It is definitely coming. And those of you who have active LinkedIn accounts know that social commerce is a thing. Data privacy and compliance is also a big wave coming to all of us. Even American exporters are realizing that they have to get serious about data compliance and privacy. I'll give you one example. If it takes quite a lot to buy something or engage with a website, it takes some trust. And if your website is not data compliant and doesn't have good privacy, you will destroy the trust of the prospective buyer. If you're sitting in Europe and you're not GDPR compliant, there's a big yellow triangle that happens on your website when someone goes on your website and says, oh, that's not a secure website. That's not something you want next to your brand. So again, that's a big thing we're seeing. I want to leave you just with something sort of in terms of my takeaway before I hand it over to Miles. In sort of a summary, as it were. From our perspective, what we see our clients using is that if your online tools are right, they can really help a mid-sized company punch above its weight, be on the same page as the top leading company in the world. They can really work hard for you, gaining and leading lead generation, prospective buyers, comforting and nurturing existing clients. They really should work hard for you. Make sure they are working hard for you so that they can really be your best sales reps for that. And I'll talk a little bit later about how to use them for distributors and things like that. Maybe just before I pass to Miles, we'll do a quick poll just to ask the audience, ask some of you out there, how are you already active internationally? Are you looking to do that internationally? Where are you on the international field? Are you online all the time? So if you just click these things, do you do it with a local partner? Are you thinking about it? Online. Ooh, I can give you some feedback already. Most of you are there with a local partner. A few of you have online as well. Most of you are with an online partner. I'm going to close that poll and let's turn over to Miles, an American manufacturer's success story. Miles, please.
Susanna, thank you very much, and hopefully everybody can hear me. This is completely unsolicited, but I'm going to really throw a big plug out to IBT. They're not paying me to say that or anything, but this is a great company to work with if you're not already working with them. Apex Instruments, let's go ahead and advance the slide. I'm going to go through this early part pretty quickly and really talk about the international global community that we plug into and that we're part of, and that we're trying actually to do some very different things. I think it's, from our perspective, a different world today than it was 2 years ago. And some of our processes and thought, our approach to the international global market is changing, really, quite frankly, pretty drastically. Um, Very simply, Apex Instruments is a 36-year-old global manufacturer of uh, emission equipment. If you see a smokestack, you know there's equipment in that smokestack that monitors for various uh, gases and compounds coming out of that smokestack, and that's what we do. We make a number of products in that space. We've got a 8-acre facility here in North Carolina, right down the road from the EPA, fortunately. Um, we build most everything here. We've got our own engineer team. We have welders, we have fabricators, we have assembly. We outsource and manage supply chains from around the world. So we have a pretty complicated uh, operation. We've got about 12,500 SKUs in our warehouse. So we've got uh, a fairly complex operation that we have to manage. You can next. This gives you some overview of some of the EPA methods that we have to follow, and that we each one of these methods, there's a long set of regulations and controls and step-by-step procedures on how it's done. And we make equipment that essentially allows you to be compliant with these environmental guidelines. And next. This is what a typical system from us looks like. And again, we build this from the ground up, from the computer boards, the software, firmware, through all the manufacturing pieces. And this is used globally. Now, some of the equipment looks different in different markets, different parts of the world. Some will have CE marks that are going into Europe, for instance. But essentially, you've got a probe on the left that goes into a smokestack, a set of impingers, and that will take out moisture and some other things from that line, and it goes into a console that essentially monitors and analyzes what's coming through it, and into a computer, typically a laptop, since a lot of our collection process is up on a smokestack. Um, Next. Um, you know, we really got. I came into the company and we started thinking about how do we grow the business. We're at a point now in our company, about half of our sales are international. So you've got, needless to say, there aren't that many people in the world that have smokestacks that are following EPA regulations, but they are global. And so if we started and really focused on the U.S. market initially, and that's what we did. But when I got into the business, we really weren't focused on getting outside of that very tight niche. We weren't thinking as much globally as we are now. We had no e-commerce going on at all. Um, we have an ERP system that there's just a mutual hatred in the company between us and the ERP system that is never going to go away till one of us dies. Um, and we also have a very technical, very complicated industry. Our solutions are hard for somebody to go to an e-commerce site and say, like you're ordering a calculator on Amazon. It doesn't work that way in our business. So there's a lot of configuration and complexity to it. Um, and so we had to answer the question, do we just make hardware or are we really in the data business? And we're really in the data business. So we've had a big shift in the last couple of years of how we think about what we do, how we track what we do, and how we add value, particularly to the international. So let's jump to the next and start talking about that piece of it a bit. The first thing we did was we built some new business units to get us out of that small market. So now we have a core Apex company, but you can go to apexcustomtrailers.com and see our we build mobile laboratories for a lot of different companies, including the U.S. government. We've got different trailers that we build for different purposes. We have heated sample lines. We've expanded that part of our business. And all of these, we've really rolled them out as larger, almost standalone divisions of the single company, because as a single entity going into the world market, we had certain levels of success, but as multiple companies going out there, we kind of get more swings at the ball coming over the plate when you have a diversified story, diversified presence, and a kind of a multi-tiered face looking into the marketplace. We are launching right now. You can go to apexambientair.com and see our new offerings in ambient air, which opens up huge market potentials for us. And the second half of this year, we'll launch our analyzer business. So we've really thought about if we're going to go more into the global community, how do we do that? And we like the idea of going with a lot of different business units that kind of almost look like independent companies that are part of a parent. So we've redefining our structure quite a bit this year. You can next. We built new branding, new look and feel, new everything there. We are in the process of launching our first e-commerce site. It's actually up, but we're doing some tweaks. We haven't really publicized it yet to our client base. We have right now our sole model of getting sales is we sit back and people call us on the telephone and we answer the phone and write up the order. We don't do anything e-commerce at all. And we did that for 35 years. And that's gotten us to a certain level, but across the last 10 years, our sales have been pretty flat. And so we have to do something different if we want to grow. Part of that is the redefined structure. Part of it is embracing a more global e-commerce model. Because of the complexity of what we do, it is oftentimes as time consuming for one of my salespeople to sell a $40 part as it is a $40,000 system. In fact, more so because there's a lot of analysis that has to go on. Not only have we launched a new site for ourselves, we've launched our first two foreign language, Spanish and Portuguese sites. And I can say without hesitation that we're already getting pretty good traffic through those sites and leads. Part of this, I've maybe got this out of order a bit, but part of the reason we're doing that is we're going to start. We've operated in the past with a distributor model, and we've got going into 2023, we had, I think, 32 distributors worldwide, which is great on one level, but that's a lot to manage. And most of those distributors didn't add a tremendous amount of value, if I'm honest about it. Again, most of them were well-meaning and worked hard. But at the end of the day, when one of their customers contacted them, we're the ones who had to do all the technical work and answer all the questions and do all the analysis and really put together the solution. So the question becomes, are we going to give up 20% or more of our sale just for the lead generation? Essentially what it was. And so we're thinking more and more about how to manage that differently. And we're probably going to end up with 6 or 7 distributors this year. So we're having a major reshift and really moving more direct to clients, because part of that advantage for us is that we get closer to the actual client. Instead of through a distributor network, we get closer to clients. when you get closer to clients, you have better intel about what they want and what they need. Um, yeah, so there's a good look at what our distributor map looked like going into 2023. That will look drastically different this year. In fact, it's already looks quite a bit different. So we're in the process of changing that model of how we work. We've jumped into a couple on the previous slide. We've really made an investment and gone all in, not only on a new ERP system, but on HubSpot. And so some kind of management tool to be proactive with our outreach instead of reactive to phone calls. So we're really changing the way we're doing business. We're investing in innovation. We've our two largest products, our two most successful products, are being relaunched this year. It's been years since they've been redone, so we're spending more money on R&D. And we're writing consoles into multiple languages now. So right now, you can buy a console from us, and we can have it natively work in um, South Korean, for instance. Now, the challenge there, of course, is that we have to deal with Windows, the South Korean version of Windows. And all these versions of Windows have their own nuances that become troublesome. But um, we're making a big commitment to not just being a domestic company, but to being a global company. You can switch. Um, some years our international business is stronger than others. Right now, one of the pushbacks we get, I don't know how real this is, but I hear it a lot, is the strength of the US dollar makes it challenging. Um, one of the challenges we get, we sold last year into 42 different countries. And every company that buys our equipment, they don't buy it because they make great Christmas gifts. They buy it because there's regulation that drives them to actually have to use this equipment. And so understanding regulatory overlay within these different countries becomes really hard. We got a call not too long ago about regulatory overlay in Papua New Guinea. And the answer there is I have no clue. I have no clue what that looks like. So but after so many years and really being committed to the international front, you end up with a lot of friends and smart people who do understand some of these things. So part of it is just your network that you build internationally. Um, we could grow a lot faster internationally if we were more liberal with our credit policy. Bank and some other tools to give us some protection. We wrote off probably last year less than $5,000 of bad debt, which is phenomenally good for a business our size. I mean, it's because we just don't get ourselves over our skis too much. But credit policy will dictate how quickly you grow, and sometimes those risks are worth it. Just know that your recourse options are fairly limited. At least our experience is that. Building trust is big. We got on the plane and flew 70,000. There's three main people last year. We logged in, I think, about 70,000 miles last year. And that might be on an upcoming slide, just to go get in front of people. If you're going to really sell into the international community, you need the tools, you need e-commerce, you need social media, you need all these things. You need language skills, but you also need to show up. You need to go to the trade shows. We've been a very appreciative of the SBA STEP program, and it's one that is a great one to use to help offset some costs of getting over internationally to try to create more exports. And part of our challenge is shifting political issues. In this country, and again, I'm not going to talk about politics, but our business is reflected in the political leadership that we see. Sometimes pro, sometimes not as pro. So there's very little we can do about that, but we see it globally too. So it's not just a U.S. phenomenon. It's, if you're going into certain countries, you're going to have different receptions at different times with different political leaderships. Unfortunately, environmental issues are politicized on some level, and so that's what we face. Some of the more mundane challenges we face, and these sound small and petty, but they're real. Time zone differences. It's hard to do business globally. Um, we're pretty committed to people not working at night. I'm a firm believer of 40 hours a week or less if possible. And so we don't like to have people taking calls at 2 o'clock in the morning. And it happens, but we'd rather that not happen. There's communication issues. Words don't mean the same thing in other languages. And so understanding how nuanced language is, and when I say communication, I don't mean just Spanish versus English, or Portuguese versus um, French or something. I mean the challenges of how do you mean what you say and understand what the other person actually means, and the way speech is given, the way emails are written, text, and it's what you learn is a cadence and a nuance with different clients. And that's why trust and building relationship really matters, because communications are tough. We get asked to fill out a lot of government paperwork from other countries, stamps, certificates, all kinds of things, and it's confusing. And so if you don't have the ability to communicate well, it becomes really, really difficult. Another small thing that ends up in more arguments on our side than I wish would happen is wire fees. So figuring out how you transfer money internationally and doing it efficiently matters. And shipping. Shipping is complicated. It used to be more simple than it is today, but shipping issues and how do you recoup and how do you quote things, and it's all become way more complicated. So if you're going to make a commitment to international markets, you've got a lot of things to figure out, and you have to get good at these things, because if you're not, you will lose money pretty quickly. And for us, it's all about having good partners, IBT being one of them, of helping us figure out some of the pieces that we need to go from 0 to 60 pretty quickly. So let me go next if there's a next. Okay, that's all I got. So
Miles, thank you, thank you. We promised we'd do questions at the end, but I just have one which I think it'd be good to have now as well, which someone has popped in, which is just how have your staff, or how have you smoothed out staff issues transforming, sorry, your business from waiting back and getting a call to more online?
um, I would love to say that everybody has embraced it with open arms and they love it, but it's harder. The fact is that part of it is our staff has grown to, what we've not tried to do is to say we're going to open up a complex part of the business and make it harder, and you have to do it on top of your existing job. So we've now segmented our sales crew into international sales and domestic sales. We have marketing people. We actually build consoles, and we have job tickets specifically for foreign markets. So all the way through the shop, we try to identify things that are going into other markets. And we build some things into it, like for shipping. If we know it's an international shipment, we have to have different lead times, and the way that we manage that project becomes a little bit different than we would if it's going to Oklahoma.
Right. Okay.
So um, the other thing that it does is that it opens up some fun international markets for trade shows. So who gets to go to the trade shows? So there is a little carrot you can hold out to say, depending on where the trade show is,
Yeah.
I'm not going to pick the winners and losers out there, but some are more popular than others. I'll say that.
Great. Thank you, Miles. That's a terrific segue into Pam. So let's talk about a helping hand, U.S. commercial service from Pam, for manufacturers, Pam.
Hey, Susanna, thank you. And Miles, thank you so much. Really enjoyed your remarks. I was channeling back to when I was worked for a distributor and was the person answering those 1-800 phone calls. So
Good morning.
makes me want to kind of go back and see what their website looks like now and see how things have changed. So I'm Pam Plagans. I am the Advanced Manufacturing Team Leader with the U.S. Commercial Service, part of the International Trade Administration of your U.S. Department of Commerce. So our mission is to facilitate U.S. Exports, to help companies sell more products, and to increase foreign direct investment in the United States. So we do this through a global network. We're in your backyard. We have over 100 offices across the United States. I'm based here in Houston, Texas on this cloudy day. And we are in 80 plus countries around the world, some multiple offices in a country, some regional offices covering multiple countries. But we really try to hone in on those markets where we can be most effective and help as many US companies to sell more products and services, which ultimately leads to jobs. So our global network works for you, and we meet companies where they are. Every company has a different, an industry sector has a unique way that they approach things. And so we have a lot of different services and ways we assist. We're ultimately results driven. I often tell people this, your success is my success. I don't take any cut out of it, but we do like to celebrate those wins and those successes because it's important. As Miles said, you're bringing your whole company along with you, and to celebrate, because there are some unique challenges to international business. So we're here to help you celebrate. I wanted to point out on this particular slide too, and I was so impressed with all the different information that Miles shared, that we have a website at trade.gov that is a powerhouse of resources for soup to nuts questions you have in exporting. And the link to these export solutions is down at, it's kind of small, but it's at the bottom of the slide in the bottom right. But if nothing else, trade.gov, pretty simple. We try to keep it up to date. I've got my own team's website, which I'll put a link in a little later. But the world is open to your business. We provide, as I said, we really try to meet you where you are with export counseling, market intelligence, business matchmaking, and commercial diplomacy. As you can imagine, since we're based in the U.S. embassies and consulates in these 80 countries, we are helping companies in different ways, but occasionally, you need us to intervene in a diplomatic manner, perhaps with a government or with a regulatory body, or for us to advocate on your behalf for those large companies who are working on big, large projects where it would be useful for the embassy to send a supportive letter or something. We provide that as well. So as I said, we help from just, and I want to say picking up the phone, but answering your emails, answering your inquiries online. And sometimes it's really just a matter of talking it through with someone who, to get the answer. Your business well. We're here to help you wherever you need us. Let's go to the next slide. This kind of goes to my sweet spot. As I noted, am the Advanced Manufacturing Team Leader. So in addition to our footprint around the world in physical offices, we also overlay that with a set of 21 or 22 teams, both regional and then industrial, that really hone in on these industry verticals and try to make sure we're looking at how we can best help companies in particular industry sectors. My particular team focuses on foundational manufacturing. So it's the things that make the things that go into the things. So, and that's with a focus on industrial materials, additive manufacturing, 3D printing, automation and robotics, and material handling. Those are some of the key sectors we're focusing on now. We also are available for just general manufacturing. It's just a matter of, we're also kind of trying to be forward looking and trying to be there when companies are there, so that we have the expertise. talking about trade shows. We are at multiple trade shows around the world. I just got back from a trade show on composites in Paris. So, Miles, I agree. There are some places that are more attractive than others for trade shows. We're doing a trade show in Orlando with the plastics industry in May. I'll be going to Chicago for the Automate, an automation and robotics trade show. So, which I'll on the next slide, there'll be more information on some of the shows coming up in May. Yeah, well, let's go to Export Week. The month of May is Export Week, but as a manufacturer, I start off with thinking about, for the fiscal year, the month of October, which is Manufacturing Month. So my team does a lot across the U.S. government to promote U.S. manufacturing. And then we kind of flow in throughout the year and go to Export Week, which is the first week of May. And it's part of World Trade Month. So in celebration of World Trade Month, the U.S. Commercial Service in recent years has really tried to front load, so to speak, a lot of events that week so that it really is a celebration of exporting. Because you really, those who are doing it out here in our who are viewing our program today, it does take a certain expertise. It takes a certain inspiration. Sometimes you are going to be challenged to be on some later calls or some things that are outside, what you normally do. But ultimately, it enriches. I feel like it's always enriched my career. And it can make a large difference for your company as you're trying to kind of modulate your sales cycles to find new markets. So Export Week in particular is more information is at trade.gov. And some of the topics that you're going to find, some of these webinars, a lot of them are no charge, but some of the basics, the export documentation, carnets, product valuations, trade finance. We'll be working with the Export-Import Bank, I'm sure, SBA. I'm sure they'll be also talking about the STEP grants. What a great resource across the states for helping companies go to trade shows and also to identify some solutions they need to move them to the next step of exporting. So, and as I said, for me in particular, I'll be in Chicago at Automate to celebrate Export Week. My colleagues will be, we have several delegations going to NPE, the plastics show in Orlando. So hopefully if you're in the plastics industry and you're going to find yourself in Orlando, please look out for us. I put in there, it's kind of small, but where we'll be found. Really, even though it might not be the exact answer on one of these slides, it's really worth developing that relationship with your local commercial service office, because it might not be today, but it's going to be at some point where you're going to be challenged with a question in an international sale. And it makes it much easier to know who to call, who to contact that can help you here in your local market, but also to reach out around the world for the answers that you need. So happy to answer any questions later on. One last shout out I will say for manufacturers is we are starting to work more with the Manufacturing Extension Partnership network across the United States on their supplier scouting. We're often asked by foreign buyers around the world, hey, can you source XYZ? If anybody's ever tried to source anything, it is a very, very, very time consuming if you're not familiar with that sector. We're starting to work with the supplier scouting to optimize supply chains and ultimately, though, to identify U.S. sources of products and services. So you can just Google supplier scouting and you can take a look at the MAP's website on that as well. So Susanna, thank you.
Good. Thank you, Pam. That's fantastic. I just wanted to ask as well, just quickly before we sort of round up. I just want to ask as well the audience if we could, if they have an interest, if they wanted to launch a poll. Yeah, there we go. Just if you've got an interest in getting more information about U.S. Commercial Service, let us know. We can make sure that you get the right links that Pam is mentioning in the slide deck and so on. And thank you very much. You're all very prompt on those clickers. Thank you very much. That's great. Okay, now back to the last sort of section, which I wanted to talk about really is sort of the online business development tools. I'm going to go super quick in this. And again, you've got a copy of the slide deck, but let's just zoom through. I've put out there just this is like an ABC, like this. If I wanted to go international and digital, what would I do? Basically, these are the 5 steps. And you define your goals, decide on your markets, figure out what online things you need, figure out if it includes e-commerce or not, because that would mean other things. Then you need to get everything all lined up and ready before you start. Just get in everything. It's no good starting and then realizing that, oh, guess what? My product isn't eligible for that market. Oh, I can't actually sell there. Oh, I don't know how to ship it. So make sure everything's lined up. And the most important is international, as Miles was saying, international can be tough. Don't do it alone. You've got U.S. Commercial Service. You've got service providers like us. You've got SBA. You've got a ton of help. Don't do it on your own. So the first thing, though, that you're going to look at in terms of any sales is your buyer persona and their journey, that buyer's journey. Now, anyone in sales and marketing knows what I'm talking about. A buyer persona in international might not be the same as what you have in your domestic market, right? So here's some questions you might ask yourself here. What are the buyer personas like? Here's an image of L'Oreal USA, right? L'Oreal USA image, they're very sensitive to buyer personas. That's why I'm choosing this one. All women on the top floor, all engaged. If I look at Mexico, it's a little bit different. The feel of it is a little bit different. Still on the top floor, more casual. They're 2 guys. It's more collegiate as well. They're more, all gathered around. If I look at Canada, it's different again because L'Oreal is very aware of their different buyer personas in these different markets. These are subtle changes, or in that case, not so subtle. They haven't actually changed the words. They've just changed some of the imagery to reflect their buyer persona. Now, here's a real example from a client of ours. It was taken a couple of years ago on a Facebook ad and compares Canada with Mexico. And we did, same ad, same time. And Canada, we were really pleased. We got 1,200 engagements, that's likes and things like that. Canada can be kind of frosty, so it was very nice to have 1,200. Mexico, same time, same ad, blew us away with 20,000. So, but and that is the difference of a buyer persona and their journey. What's interesting is to go one step further. That's engagement. What about conversions? What about the sales? And here in this slide, you can see that the sales, which is the green and yellow, are almost the same in Canada and Mexico. So my Mexican buyer engages in social media 20 times more than my Canadian one, but it takes 20 times more to make the same sales. Do you see what I mean? Okay, so there's a difference in buyer personas. And we can talk through that. But these are things you have to know when you start looking at the different markets, what to expect and how to engage with them and the different players. I think the key message that I want to give is respect your local buyer persona. Your local buyer persona. That's if you're targeting Canada, that's your Canadian buyer persona. If you're targeting Japan, it's the one in Japan. Remember we talked about being customer centric. That's what this is. It's about respecting that local buyer persona. And if you're on e-commerce, it's even more important to do that. Your local buyer, your local prospective buyer has to have the right pricing. The payment method has to be the one that they want, not the one you want. The compliance and regulations all have to fit what that local market wants. I'm going to give you a little example as well about localizing things, and that's about keywords. This is something I'm sure you all know about. Keywords. What's a keyword? Keyword is the thing you type in when you search for something. If you're looking at different markets, the keywords get really important. Let's say you're in the sports good industry, or you manufacture or something like that. And if you're doing Google Ads, let's say you're doing Google Ads and you're advertising sneakers in Canada, you're giving a lot of money to Google for nothing because most Canadians look for runners, not sneakers. Okay, so it gets really important to do that. I wanted to highlight also just quickly, a couple of minutes left, some websites from clients of ours and why they chose those websites. The first one I want to highlight is it's an Oklahoma company actually, and they do things for grills. They manufacture grill tops, and the reason why they have a website is because they sell on Amazon and they sell in Target and they sell in all these places, and their brand was disappearing. And it was continuously, they would be on the shelf, priced at one thing, and the Chinese or the cheap competitor would be priced at a different price level, and their price, and people were not respecting their brand anymore. And the only way they could fight against price erosion was by brand. And so now they have a website to promote their brand and their story in their community. And it's all, yes, there's an e-commerce. Yes, they want to sell things on it, but it's about protecting their brand and espousing their brand so that they can maintain price even in places like Walmart and so on. So now their Walmart sales are up and their e-commerce sales are up, and it's about brand protection. The next one I wanted to highlight is a company called Armor. Click again, I think. One more click. There we go. And they do. It looks like real commodity stuff. And they do rust erosion products. So anything that gets wrapped up in logistics and things like that against rust. And it's incredibly easy to buy stuff from there. It's incredibly easy, but it's also very personal. It's all about sort of this so-called Ask Jerry that they have. And they have lots of people pictures of real people doing that work. Again, it's that personal community and a personalization. The next one I wanted to highlight is a B2B company which decided to go on an e-commerce website, but it is a request a quote website. So it is e-commerce, but it doesn't end with a carriage and a payment gateway. It ends with a quote, so that the client can say, I want 5 of these and 2 of those and 10 of those, puts it in a basket, and says, send me a quote. And that allows the salesman then to have a sales qualified lead, to then phone up the client and say, hey, got the quote in. By the way, those 2 don't match, and let's fine tune that. That's a sales qualified lead, which is a whole lot easier than cold calling. And that is something that we're seeing again and again, B2B companies, manufacturers doing. This request a quote cart, it's called a cart builder in e-commerce language. The last one I want to show you is about distributors. Miles talked about the difficulties of managing distributors. One of our clients manages their distributors via their website. All information is in one website. Distributors can access it when they want. But the company does all the marketing. So Amazon does all the marketing for those distributors and gives the leads to the distributors. The distributors are there for fulfillment, after sales, installation, problem shooting, and so on. They're not there to get the leads. They're not there to promote the brand and decide pricing, nothing else. They are there for in-market fulfillment only. So that's a different approach that company has taken. And so that company is very protective of its brand and says we control our brand completely this way. And all distributors have access to all that information only online, and they all have the same access. So those are some I said, very quick sort of roundabout things. I just want to sort of leave you again with that sort of message of, if you combine your website with online marketing, that really has a very strong impact on your sales and your growth. And if you get your local buyer persona and respect that buyer persona, you will find yourself on good lead generation for your sales guys. And the important part about anything online as well is to make sure that you're getting return on investment. And return on investment is about looking, I mean, you have to decide your goals and therefore the things you're going to be tracking. But the most important part of it is what I call lather, rinse, repeat. It's us to do it again, change it, tweak it a bit, modify it a bit, do it again, do it again, do it again, and look and see the improvements. Because if it's online, it's all about the tiny detail. It's about modifying this one little thing and suddenly, oh, that's it. You're no longer getting drop off at your cart, or that's it. You're suddenly getting better traction. That's it. You're suddenly getting people actually engaging in your contact forms. I'm rushing through this, so takeaways and next steps. But before I get there, if I will just ask if any of you have interest in learning more either about our e-commerce or so on. There's a little poll as well here. If you want to learn more about our online global programs, websites, online marketing, e-commerce, and things like that, let us know, and we'll send you an email afterwards with some links to find out more if you want that and things. So again, thank you very much. We appreciate the yes, please contact me. Okay, great. Gonna go on. Right. Takeaway next steps. Basically, getting back to my original thing about all those statistics, why we think manufacturers need online business tools. It's because, remember those numbers right in the beginning, 5.4 billion people are online for nearly 7 hours a day. You have to make sure that your online assets are working hard for you. You've got to get your online assets, your business development tools lined up and ready. I think Miles's testimonial and experience there was really revealing in shifting a business to make sure that the sales are growing. And it's very, very impactful. A couple of those latest trends about e-commerce, about AI, and so on, just to remind you about some of those things coming down the track. They're coming down very quickly. And that local buyer persona, that respecting that local buyer persona is the way to engage in the international markets. You engage with them in the way that they want to be engaged with, not the way that necessarily you want. Remember, a lot of this, you don't have to go alone. You've got tremendous assets. The America exporting community, I mean, we work with other countries. We work with America's exporters are really, really privileged to have the resources that they do. Take advantage of them. Give Pam a call. Give her colleagues outreach. Contact the NADEC, the SBA, there's so many things. It's just amazing to take advantage of, and the grants that go with it, just there, because exporting can be tough. So a couple of things there. There's also a page about us and the e-commerce alliance and strategic partnership on the trade.gov website, and there's a ton of resources on that website as well as on our website about e-commerce and about things like that. So do reach out on that. Again, if you want to learn more about the online global programs, there's stuff on our website, and you can learn more on the resources side, including in e-commerce. Phew, that's it. We've done exactly 1 hour. We have no time left for questions, but we have a lot of questions in, and I think what we'll have to do, I do respect your time. I won't go over the time, but we will be answering your questions by email for that. A lot of the questions are directed at Miles, I have to say, but I think I wanted to give a big shout out to Miles. Thank you so much for your talking about that, for your experiences and sharing your experiences with Apex Instruments and how that company is shifting. That's really interesting things. Pam, as always, great to see you and spend some time and resources for the manufacturers. And the audience, thank you all for joining us today. And we will get back to all those questions you've put in the chat box, we promise. Thank you all. Happy exporting. Seeing you at the next. Hope to see you at the next trade show, or drop into our offices, or and have a cup of coffee. Love to see everybody in person as well. Thank you very much. Happy exporting, and see you all the next time. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Pam.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Well, bye.